So I feel like techniques to winning specifically in solo standard just aren't talked about enough. Adapting to teammates is a hugely underrated aspect of this playlist, which I just haven't seen properly addressed. So I want to talk about your approach to solo queue and dealing with teammates, good or bad. Welcome to the channel, guys. I am a professional tennis coach and sports psychology coach, and I've been working with Rocket League players for a little over a year now. My goal with this channel is to approach improvement in Rocket League in a different way, more from a traditional sport and sports psychology perspective. In this video, we're going to go over dealing with bad or toxic teammates, some psychology tips to get the most out of your teammates, as well as how you should approach your playstyle when entering a game with random players. Now, since this video topic got a bit longer than I thought it would when I wrote it out, we're going to address this last point in a part 2 of the video next time. So firstly, let's talk about dealing with toxic and bad teammates, as well as your mindset going into it. Starting with the bad teammates, dealing with these guys is not easy, but with the right mindset, we can ease the pain here and stay focused on the topic, allowing us to grow more from each game while avoiding tilt and giving us a much better chance at winning. So I have 4 things to keep in mind when we feel like we are starting to get frustrated at one of our teammates. Number 1 is take the blame. Something I personally need to remind myself of constantly is that no matter how bad my teammate is, there is always something that I could have done better to win this game. Let's just say my teammate just missed an easy save. Well, if I had gotten a better touch 5 seconds ago, or maybe I was better positioned, the opponents wouldn't have gotten possession and my teammate wouldn't have had to make that save in the first place. Taking blame is important not only so that we can keep a clear head by avoiding getting frustrated with our teammates, but also because it helps us stay focused on what we need to improve on. Once we place blame for a loss on a teammate, their mistakes are all that we see, so we end up losing sight of our own mistakes. Rather, we just need to ignore things which are outside of our control and constantly be vigilant for things that we can improve on. Taking blame is a great technique to remind ourselves of this. Number 2 is use productive, non-judgmental self-talk in regards to how we label our teammates' actions in our minds. When our teammate misses an easy ball and we start to think, what is he doing? Why did he miss that? Why is this guy so bad? We start to get lost in a moment that has already passed and we'll lose at least some of our mental bandwidth, which could have been used to recover the play and get ready for what's next. After mistakes from our teammates, our mindset needs to be, okay, he missed it, what can I do now? Judgmental thinking takes us out of the moment and keeps us in the past. I could go into depth a ton on this as it's one of the major pillars of mindfulness, and this is an important part of flow state and high athletic performance, which is what inspired this channel in the first place. So we'll definitely get more into depth on this in future videos. Number 3 is don't take it personally. It can be so easy to get frustrated with a player's mistakes that we forget that our teammate did not join the game just to ruin our rank. He's likely trying just as hard to win as we are. There are some toxic exceptions, but we'll get into that in a bit. If I'm struggling with this, a little mental exercise I like to do to help is that I try to assume that my teammate is having the worst game of their life. I'm sure you've been in that position. You're trying hard, but you're just sucking. Recall how frustrating those days are and how it already feels horrible enough. Having teammates rage at us just doesn't help the situation at all. And finally, number 4, just remember that learning how to carry is what makes players better. So having a bad teammate is just an opportunity to get better at carrying. So now let's talk about toxic players.
That's a shot.
Nice
That's
win.
A shot.
First off, we need to remember that we aren't better than them. The urge to be toxic is in all of us, and I'm sure we've all done it. As we encounter this type of person, rather than giving into those urges, we need to relish in the fact that we have more self-control than them to suppress it right now. Now, don't let your ego get too caught up in this either. That doesn't mean that we're just a better person than them, just that we made a better decision in this moment. Getting toxic is only going to be distracting to both of you. You're both just going to get angrier and you're going to feel worse afterwards. And you're also potentially ruining more than just this game, especially if you queue up again and get them as your teammate once more. If you had tried to diffuse the situation, you may be able to start the next game with a clean slate. So let's talk about a few ways that can try to help diffuse toxicity as it's happening. Firstly, try to make yourself the victim rather than the enemy. If something goes wrong and your teammate starts raging at you, drop your ego and apologize. Say my bad, honestly, even if it's not your bad. People are much less likely to continue to beat down on someone when that person is already admitting their mistakes and therefore is no longer seen as a threat. Another diffusal tactic is just to ignore their toxicity and say nothing or be grossly nice. Continue to compliment their nice shots even when they're talking trash to you. This kind of stuff takes a lot of self-control, but it's going to be really rewarding in the long run. I feel really great when I finish a game with a toxic teammate, and I know that I didn't give in to any of the toxicity and I maintained a calm, kind composure. You can think of this as just another mental challenge. How well can you handle this person's rudeness and remain calm and kind to them regardless? And finally, just remember that you won't change them. And sometimes, honestly, probably most of the time, they will continue to rage no matter what. Try once or twice to diffuse the situation, and if nothing changes, then just focus on what you need to improve on and move on to the next game. So now let's get into a few ways to get the most out of your teammates, some tips on how to make them play better with you, synergize better with you, and prevent toxicity before it happens. Before we get into that though, if you're liking this content, please support me by hitting that like button and subscribing if you haven't already. This is a super new channel, so every bit of engagement helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm in spreading these videos to more people and helping keep me motivated to make more content like this. This stuff takes a lot of work, so support from you guys in just showing me that you like what I'm doing really helps me out a ton. Comments also help a lot, so hit me with the dog emoji if you like this stuff, and the cat emoji if you don't like it, since we all know dogs are objectively better than cats. So anyways, the first tip to getting the most out of your teammates is compliment the hell out of them when they're doing something well. This is going to help get them hyped, play loose, and play confident. As much as that montage is a little over the top, don't do this to the point of getting distracting. Keep your compliments short and to the point. There are three main parts to a concise, impactful compliment. First of all, typing is better than quick chat, even if it's just to say nice instead of quick chatting nice shot. Secondly, using their name builds a bit of a subconscious bond. So if you can say nice Jimbo instead of nice, it's gonna go a long way. And finally, if you can point out specifically what they did well, something like nice read Jimbo, way to be there, this is not only gonna make them feel really good, but it's also gonna reinforce what they did really well in their mind, and they're likely to continue to do really well in that area. Something I found really interesting while I was recording and trying to get footage for that montage, my win rate was actually insane. I think I went something like 10 wins and 2 losses, and one of the losses was just because of a disconnect anyways. I attribute this to my mindset going in. I didn't necessarily just want myself to do well, I wanted us to do well. My goal playing these games was to have my teammates do something that was worth complimenting. I gave them space, I trusted them, I still played really aggressively and played my game, but I tried to let them do the same, and it ended up working out really well. Next is apologize. This is kind of a common theme in the video here, but bear with me. If we make a mistake, apologize for it. Even if it's just the quick chat sorry. We can even go as far as, if our teammate makes a mistake, tell him it was our fault. Something like, my bad for overextending. This is the same type of self-blame that we talked about earlier, and it's just going to help reinforce the accountability that we should be taking anyways. It's also going to take pressure off of our teammates' mistakes. You want to give your teammates a lot of confidence, arguably even false confidence, that they can do no wrong, to keep them playing well. It's also going to earn a level of trust with them that they know that you're self-aware and trying to adapt. And finally, stop trying to help your teammates be better. I know personally, especially since I'm a coach for a living, if someone makes a small mistake like cutting rotations or something that could easily be adjusted, I'm tempted to point it out so that they can get better at it and we won't have to worry about it in the future. Unfortunately, there's no point to giving advice in solo queue, even if you're totally right. Our teammates just aren't going to listen to what some random person on the internet has to say, they aren't going to change their playstyle in 2 minutes, and they're likely to just get offended by you trying to tell them what to do. Keep this in mind. Best case scenario, if you give great advice to a teammate who made a mistake and for some reason they like your advice, Even this won't help because they'll be focused on changing something, and to make changes there's often a dip in performance in the short term. Them focusing on what they need to change can work as a distraction rather than help. This is the same reason why, as coaches, we only try to make changes during the off season. During the regular season, particularly before really big matches, we only try to reinforce what is already known, never adding new information so players can focus on what they're best at. So thanks for watching, guys. I want to get into your playstyle in solo 3s, but I had a lot more information than I thought I would, so I'll be addressing that in the next video, along with some clips from Squishy to analyze. So I hope some of this helped. If it did, please drop a like, subscribe, hit that dog emoji in the comments, and go practice.